What's going on, guys? How you doing? This is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group, and today I want to talk about something that I was talking about with a group of brothers that I'm in a venture partnership with. We're trying to build this particular company together. Something that I've been working on for a couple years now. But an interesting conversation came up between me and these gentlemen, and one of the gentlemen, is in finance. Another gentleman is in the water industry, and a couple of different things going on, just a couple of people, another IT person. um but we were talking about something that's really important, man. And it was sort of along the lines of how communities, how people are self-sabotaging, right, because of some of the things that they've been through historically, or some of the things that they've seen throughout their lifespan, and some of the things that they've gone through, right? And out of that conversation, the long and short of it was, even if opportunity was able to come to communities of color, would we be able to sustain it? Would we be able to build around it? And what I mean by that is, regardless of the political climate, right, and the things that are going on, social justice, things like that, and they do play into it. The reality of the situation is we have to be able to build some sort of agreement, man, in our communities where we're not going to destroy them or kill each other. And what I mean by that is simple. Let's say you get the governor, the mayor, the person, the politician that you want, and they're looking to bring the opportunity, right? You have a business, right? A pretty substantial sized company that wants to now provide jobs in the inner city, or the ghetto communities, whatever you want to call them, right? But before you're able to really generate workers or employees from that particular community, you have to educate them. So initially, you have to be able to bring the people in with the company in order to sustain the organization where they're at, right? Because one of the things that a company, I apologize about that. One of the things that a company looks for when they're looking to pick a market is, are you able to produce the employees that I'm going to need, right? A lot of companies need, IT people. They need all different types of people, right? But is your area producing the skilled employees that I need, or else I'm going to have to bring them in? And then you talk about things like relocation and other dollars that have to factor into that equation. And the reality of the situation is, regardless, even if a company wanted to do that and relocate into a community, would the employees follow? Meaning, take an average 35-year-old, 36-year-old, 40-year-old African American man that's a coder. And we say, hey, I want to build something right in the middle of any particular city, right? Chicago, New Jersey, whatever, right? I'm from New Jersey. So he says, I want to build, you have a company like, let's say, there's a Google startup. It's not Google, but it's another search engine. How do you convince those people to come to a community where they're going to put their lives in jeopardy? They're going to put their safety in jeopardy. They're going to, potentially, the schools are not as productive, right? And all those different things. That's some of the issues that the business community has to deal with when you talk about bringing the opportunity. Because I'm a firm believer that we could tell people not to do the wrong thing all day, but we have to provide sustainable and true viable options for them in order to feed their families and take care of themselves and do things like they're going to need to do to survive. But we have to cut it out, man. What I mean by that is, in some cases, right, there's two ways to grow the business community. You either bring them in, you either import companies, or you produce companies. So to import companies, I just stated the problem. Are you going to be able to get the necessary workers, or convince the people that you need to come to that particular area without displacing the people that are already there? Gentrification, all those things like that, right? and then there's the second option, right? So that's a problem, right? In order for somebody to be able to convince an organization to bring high paying good, income producing jobs, you have to first make the neighborhood a safe environment. And unfortunately, a lot of times that means gentrification. That means moving those people that are in that community out to bring a whole new crop of people in that are going to support this new organization, school, whatever system of workforce in that area. And the second way to do that is to produce it from within, to support the people in your community that are your thought, your thinkers, your IT, your scientists, your STEM type of kids. And this is where it becomes troubling to me, because it seems like in my particular community that those kids are now on the menu, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, and I'm going to be very candid. We are starting to destroy our own opportunities. Let's take I'm Nipsey Hussle. Let's take him. I'm not in the hip hop like that and all of that, but I think it's a very good viable example. Who knows what he would have meant generationally to that community had he continued to go the path he was going, and providing opportunities, jobs. Maybe he would have convinced a smaller IT black owned firm, because the black IT tech space is really looking for a place to belong. We don't talk about it a lot, but black IT consultants and IT tech companies are really looking for a place to belong, because we don't really belong. Or let me say this: Silicon Valley is something that we mingle in, and the New York's, right, but we're looking for places to belong. And generally speaking, I believe a lot of these companies, these small startups that turn into multi-million dollar companies, would like to provide opportunities to the community. But you can't shoot at them and kill them or take them out or whatever, right? You have to provide a safe environment so these geniuses that we produce can either come home or stay home. And I just think the nonsense has to stop. And I was talking to the brothers about it, because at the end of the day, there's there the way the economic pendulum is swinging. If AI truly does, without any regulations, what companies really wanted to do, it would displace such a great portion of the black and brown population, because the majority of our jobs, a good portion of our jobs, come from service industry. And if there is no service industry, then we lose all kinds of revenue. We lose all kinds of opportunities. So next time you go into your local grocery store or your local fast food place, or and I know these are the quote unquote jobs that we don't want anywhere or whatever, but what happens when you displace, you displace 20,000 people in a particular city? Those cause all kinds of issues, right? So we have to be able to replace those jobs and keep it talking with high paying jobs and things like that. But if you've had a criminal record, if you made a mistake in the past, are they really going to give you opportunity? No. You need to sit across from somebody that understands, that grew up in your neighborhood, that could relate to some of the things you had to deal with, and maybe made those decisions that you made, but just didn't get caught. Wouldn't it be nice if the dude you went to high school with ends up owning a pretty viable company in your community that maybe could give you an opportunity? Why don't we protect those people? Why don't we ensure that they have carte blanche to grow and become and develop, because it means so much to all of us? Instead of sitting in front of or across from somebody that doesn't look like you, doesn't look like your neighborhood, doesn't understand you, could probably, that don't really have any connection to you. Wouldn't it be nice for the dude you played basketball with, or the guy that was in your class, to turn into something that produces a sustainable income flow into your community, and you could actually talk to the guy, right? You could get your kids a summer job, all of these different things, man. But the violence and the nonsense and the shootings and all of that stuff, that who's going to risk it when I have the opportunity to leave? Who's going to risk it when they have the opportunity to leave? And the people that stay don't get rewarded. They get killed. You know, entertainers go home because they have a loyalty. They're part of the you know, the fabric, and they feed off of that. You know, that's the consumer. They got to connect it to the consumer. They got to stay real. But that when it comes to the business community, they don't really have those connections. They need, I mean, they, from a personal standpoint, we do, but it's not like you're selling BI tools to mom and pop, you know, little corner store groceries, right? So there has to be another reason, and it's just generally love. We grew up there. But at the same time, why risk? It's the balance between, do I want to risk my life every day? Because there is some of that. People say, no, it's not. Yes, in some cases it is. Where there's shootings. Do I want to hear gunshots? Do I want to go through that to provide opportunity? And what I mean by that is, at some point in time, we're gonna have to decide, what do we want? What do we want? And are we willing to cut out the nonsense that's stopping us from getting it? And that's all I gotta say, man. How do we convince our best to stay? Why do they leave? Why do our best constantly leave? Our best doctors, they get money, they get out of town. Lawyers, they get money, they get out of town. IT developers, they get money, they get out of town. Business owners, they get money, they get out of town. Why are we making it so bad that our best and brightest run? I mean, if we just kept our best and brightest and allowed them to produce in the areas in which we live, we would change our community. But that starts with, you know, for lack of better words, OGs making calls, man. That's not a police issue. They don't care. Property values are greatly affected by that, the violence and all that stuff. And they come and buy it up, and eventually when they want it, they shut it down. And before you know it, the neighborhood that was horrible now is beautiful, and nobody in it looks like you. Why can't we keep our best, man? I don't know if this is something that could be solved within, hopefully it could be solved within my generation, but at some point in time, we're going to have to stop killing our best. And if we don't destroy them, or we don't make them afraid to live around us, or we keep them, man. We need to keep the best and brightest, because they're our lifelines to get through some of these economic times that are gonna require us to produce our own jobs. So once again, this is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group, man. Y'all be blessed. Peace.